Hello, my name is Magenta with a J, and I am going to show you step by step how I got this makeup look today. Now, this is the look that I wore when I won the Boston Drag Gauntlet. It's a bit of an amped up recreation because I had to kind of rush into some costume changes, but this is the concept that I was going for, this black feathered Queen of the Apocalypse. So I hope you enjoy my little tutorial. Alright, we start by doing our brow block, and in this case, sideburn block. So I take a little bit of rubbing alcohol to clean up the hair there, and then I take out my trusty purple glue stick. For the first round, rub in as much as possible, and then I take a little brush to smooth it out in sort of an upward diagonal direction, and try to get it as flat as possible. I use a towel and often my thumb or fingers to smooth it out so that it's not lumpy. And here I'm also deciding to apply that to my sideburns. When I do the second and third rounds, I like to stab the glue stick a little bit to make it rougher so more glue comes off, and then rub across again, and actually do 3 rounds, only showing 2 here. And then I push in some translucent setting powder, this has no pigment in it, to kind of flatten it as much as possible, and then brush it off. The next piece is some color correction for where any hairs grow through. So I applied a little bit of primer. Now I'm going over with a foundation stick around my sort of goatee mustache area. And then I'm taking some yellow and then red cream face paint and dotting it on just a little bit in those key areas. This is to counteract sort of the bluish tone of the hair, and then rubbing that out with a wedge, and as you see I rub it out further, it starts to kind of blend in and look less like there is a 5 o'clock shadow. And then I'm putting some setting powder over that and brushing it off, just to give more of a clean palette before the foundation step. In this case, I'm also doing the same thing in the sideburn area because I want to make sure that none of my natural hair is showing on the sides when I put the wig on. Basically the same steps with the yellow and red, and then blending out. And now I'm fully prepped to start the makeup. So again, apply a primer before sliding on your foundation. In this case, I'm beginning with a white to hit at the highlighted areas, and I also apply that over the brow just to give me a blank slate there. Mostly focusing on where I want to draw attention, and then bringing in my foundation stick for the main color, making sure to get all over my face, including where I had done the color correction, as well as onto my neck so that it blends in. And then that beauty blender comes along and you just blend, 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 blend until it's smooth. I'm also coming in with a little bit of cream contour under the cheekbone. I actually use 2 colors. The darker one goes at the temples and along the jaw, and then blend that in. And once you've got that all done, I'm bringing in a setting powder that's neutral, as well as a slightly pigmented translucent powder for the darker areas, applying that and brushing it all off. After foundation, I always start with the brow. I begin with a cream color. In this case, I'm using green. I want a slightly green brow. It's a much brighter green as the paint, but as I add more layers, you'll see it darken. So once I've got the paint shape, I come back in with eyeshadow in a darker green, just to cover up every part of the cream color that I previously applied, making sure to get it pretty consistently and help bring that shape together a little bit more. Make sure to frequently check that you look even on both sides. I'm also adding a little bit of black just along the bottom and making the darkest part the outer edge and blending that in. And then I come through with a white cream paint to define the brow better. And once I've got that line pretty well defined, I bring that paint down further and just basically have a whole white blank canvas below the brow. After I do brows, I then do the powder contour, so I'm starting with a white Ben Nye powder, brushing that along the cheekbone, center of the nose, and under the mouth and chin. Then I'm using a sort of lighter contour first along the cheek and forehead, and then bringing in the darker contour to really define the cheeks and the temples, and then along the jawline as well. Again, the goal here is to emphasize certain parts of the face. And then I am doing my nose contour,
It basically involves drawing two straight lines to kind of define a more narrow nose and blending them out a little bit. A lot of back and forth here, making sure that the tip is covered as well, and I do a little bit on the nostril. And then I bring in the white on the sides of the nose to kind of make it look a little more pinched and make the brightest white at the very tip, then blending out along the top. I often use my finger here. And I've got a nice little narrow nose. After that, I begin the eyes. So I'm starting with the lightest color, trying to define a bit of a crease here with a lighter green, bringing that up past the corner of the eye a little bit. Then I come back in with a smaller brush and a darker green to define more of a crease and a little more dimension to the eye. And then I'm also applying a little bit of black here to make that eye crease really stand out. Then to define it even further, similar to the brow, I'm bringing in the white cream paint to really draw out that line and then bringing that across the eyelid. I'm also making sure that I'm blending out with a darker color, so this is sort of a dark brown on the edges to really define the eye a bit more. And I also decided to bring in a contrasting color. This is sort of purplish under the eye, and then bringing a little bit of a red-orange over that. Now that I've got the colors down, it's time to bring in the black eyeliner. So I start with a pencil under the eye, and then I'm using this felt tip black eyeliner to kind of draw out where I want the black liner to go, using a black paint to fill that in along the upper edge of the top eyelid, and then using some black shadow just to set that and blend it out a little bit, making sure to also get under the eye so that it blends into the color that I just drew. I also left a little bit of the corner of the eye exposed to some white, which I paint in, again add some powder, and now I'm defining the lines a bit better with that marker again and drawing on a few under lashes to give it a little more dimension there, and then also cleaning up the outer edges of the line. I'm also going back to the brows, drawing in a black line along the bottom, and then drawing in a few hairs, or fake hairs, to give the brow a little more dimension. Now that I've finished the eyes, it's time to add a little more color and dimension to the face with some blush. I'm using the same colors as I did under my eyes, starting with sort of a purplish and then adding the red-orange, applying it along my cheek, forehead, jawline, and even under my lips and at the tip of my nose to bring that color throughout the face. Next up is the lips, where I'm going with a kind of green to black ombre, so I'm starting with a little bit of green paint on my lips, rubbing that in, and then coming back through with a black lipstick around the edges. And I'm also going to overdraw my lips a bit with black paint, so I'm kind of drawing a larger lip and then filling it in. Then I'm adding a couple other finishing touches, adding 2 beauty marks, and then also slightly changing the nostril shape with black to really make my face look like a different shape. Moving off the face, I now am adding some contour to my chest to give the illusion of cleavage. I have a whole other video about this if you want to check it out, but it involves using the same colors as you use for your face to highlight above your chest and each pec or breast, and then using only a little bit of dark contour to define the inside to add a little bit of depth. Setting with powder, brushing that off, and then also applying a shimmer highlight down the middle and across the top a little bit. Also coming back through to add some glitter with some glitter glue, and then cover my eyelids and part of my brow, and then give a little glitter dose to my lips, and then bring that shimmer highlight to my nose and cheeks. Add lashes, a wig, and an outfit, and now you've got yourself the Queen of the Apocalypse. Thanks for watching.